All right, what's going on, Colts Nation? So we have a few different updates here regarding the Indianapolis Colts defensive coordinator search right now. The first one I want to talk about is the one that you see here on the screen. This is according to Jeremy Fowler. He is saying, speaking of Allen, referring to former Saints defensive coordinator slash head coach Dennis Allen. He said, speaking of him, I'm sensing some Colts buzz and expect him to be a candidate in Indianapolis. Also, another thing coming up recently, Albert Breer dropped some of the names for potentially Colts defensive coordinator. The three names that he put out there: Wink Martindale, Steve Wilkes, and Rex Ryan. That was a little bit of a surprise that he put Rex Ryan out there, but I think overall, guys, kind of looking at it, talking about the three guys that I think we had on our list when we were looking at some potential DC candidates, I would be perfectly fine, really, with any of those three. I think Dennis Allen's kind of the popular name right now amongst different Colts people. Obviously, you saw what he's been able to do with the Saints when it comes from a defensive coordinator position, and obviously head coach is a whole different animal in itself. But when you look overall at Dennis Allen and his kind of time with the New Orleans Saints, he definitely would bring a different kind of culture to the Indianapolis Colts defense, a different type of approach, 100%. And, the last 5 years, Dennis Allen's really been one of the better defensive coordinators and play callers in the NFL. So definitely would be a major upgrade from what the Colts have, and a guy that has a proven track record. And I would feel very similarly about the other two names. Wink Martindale would be kind of in a similar mold there, where the Indianapolis Colts would do less react and do more attacking, which is something that I said for me when looking for a new DC. That's something I really want the Colts to go after, is somebody that kind of matches how your offense is designed, where it's a lot more attack versus react. And it just felt like the Colts were so simplified a lot of times under Gus Bradley that they didn't attack when they properly needed to. So I definitely would be fine with either of those guys. Those guys blitz a lot more, they attack a lot more, and they make the offense react to them. They don't just be, to use an old coaching phrase, they a lot of times are the hammer, not the nail, right? So I would be totally fine with that. Steve Wilkes also has a pretty good history as a DC as well. So really any of those three I'd be perfectly fine with. Rex Ryan has been a good defensive coach in the past. He just hasn't been a coach for a long time. So I don't think that goes away, but that would be one I have a little bit more hesitation on, just because he hasn't been in the NFL for a long time. But really, any three of those candidates that I mentioned, I would be all on board for. And I really think there's a really good pool of candidates here for defensive coordinators. So I think really any of those three guys, there's a couple other guys as well that we've talked about as well that I think would be good fits for Indianapolis. But I do think they need a defensive coordinator that's not going to be afraid to, number one, take some risks, to blitz, send some guys, confuse quarterbacks, don't make life easy on them. Don't do the, like I said, the death by 1,000 paper cuts type of approach where you're reacting a lot of times and betting on professional quarterbacks to make mistakes. It just doesn't happen as much at the NFL level. So I just never think that type of approach will work. So really, if they have an attacking minded sort of guy like a Dennis Allen, like a Wink Martindale, I really do think that would be a major step in the right direction. And also with that, obviously somebody who's going to teach the fundamentals. I mean, you saw how bad the Colts were, and when in terms of missed tackles this last year, they led the league in a wide margin in that department. And also just a guy that's not going to be afraid to hold players accountable. If he needs to be the jerk, he can be the jerk, and he's not going to have an issue with that. If he's got to hold guys accountable, if he's got to bench some guys, so be it, for the sake of accountability. So, yeah, those are some names, guys, that have been kind of floating around as of recent in the last day or so when in regards to the Indianapolis Colts, defensive coordinator position right now. And obviously we'll see when the Colts officially do request some interviews. But I would think some of these guys potentially could be in the mix there for the defensive coordinator position. But let me know your guys' thoughts here on any of those four candidates that were mentioned for the Indianapolis Colts defensive coordinator position. Is there another guy that you would like to see the Colts go after as well for that position? Let me know all those things in the comments down below. If you haven't already, be sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, all that good stuff, so that you are in the loop when we drop fresh content just like this. We are on the push to 2,000 subscribers, so if you'd help us out, we would greatly appreciate appreciate that. But guys, that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much. And as always, go Colts.